Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560, The Answer, online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, and your Alexa-powered smart speaker, on TuneIn, iHeart, and radio.com. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy, of everything that's been canceled and everything has been canceled. What is most distressing to you? Is it by chance the NBA?
Okay.
No.
Have you heard people screaming
and
and crying?
For Steve Aschburner. Yeah, Adam Silver, I believe, has returned to his home planet since play has been suspended for 30 days.
And he disagrees with me and Brett Baer. This is the real reason why, Dan. He says the NBA season has been canceled for now.
If you think of one of those maps in the country of where planes go, that's what players do. They move from city to city. As you know, when they're in those communities, they're in contact with people in the arenas, they're in contact with people in restaurants, hotels, and other places. That's how a virus can spread.
Yeah, but where you've got hot spots, there aren't NBA teams. There's no Supersonics anymore, and I believe the Knicks have disbanded as well.
Stop it. And they don't have to worry about fans in Chicago, right? Because they didn't have any fans.
I'm glad we're having Steve Aschburner on the show, senior writer for NBA.com, because I want to know if the NBA resumes this season, can fans still petition the league to not allow the Bulls to resume?
Charles Barkley, one of the people who said he might have gotten it, he was urging, them to cancel March Madness because of player contact and because, of course, the two Utah Jazz players have it.
I'm really hoping it was just a bug. But like I said, I was in New York earlier this week because that was a hot spot. And when I got to Atlanta, I just wasn't feeling well.
So he got tested. And we're waiting to see whether or not he has coronavirus.
It could be his diet. We'll more on this. Pleased to be joined by the aforesaid Steve Aschburner, senior writer, NBA.com. Steve, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Dan.
Yeah, a real warm welcome, isn't it?
He's scoffing at the thing you cover.
Here's the good news. At least Vince Carter got to end his career by dropping a three-pointer for the Hawks, so I was happy to see that the other day. Other than that, I'm having a hard time, very difficult time, getting animated over the NBA's 30-day suspension. But what does that mean in terms of things like economic impact, both for those communities in which host an NBA team, plus I guess the players, if I care about them, which I don't.
Yeah, for the players, they have contracts, and because of this virus, this particular shutdown, people have ferreted out in the collective bargaining agreement between the owners and the players. There is provision for epidemic, and I believe that's referred to as something like force majeure or something.
Force majeure clause, yeah, right.
Yep, and so they necessarily wouldn't get paid or won't get paid during this time. And the tradition has been if the games aren't played, they're not paid. So
that must be why LeBron James initially reversed his position of I'm not playing if there are no fans. Hey, LeBron, you won't get paid. Okay, I'll play.
Yeah, it's hard to say what. I mean, I can't get inside LeBron's head. He had his own brush with things China in the early part of the season. But in terms of others, economic impact, I mean, you do have people that work these games, support staff, ushers, security,
Benny the Bull, mascots.
Yeah,
Benny the Bull is out of work.
It's a job. Well, it's a job. I mean, what do you think about Kevin Love, though? He donated $100,000 to stadium employees.
No, that's great. I mean, that's a great gesture by him. And then immediately on social media, you had people saying, "Wait a minute, it shouldn't be a player; it should be the billionaire owner." And so, but it's like you're gonna snipe at somebody who makes that sort of a move.
Right.
With the people that he greets and that greet him when he enters and leaves the arena and that he deals with. I think that's great. That's sort of how things are supposed to work. That when you have sort of the gumption and the desire to do something like that, you do it.
Well, in that
Yeah, so
spirit,
yeah.
I don't have the contact info, but please pass word to the Lovables that I'm willing to let them stay with me if lodging becomes an issue for them.
I'm not going to have any
All
contact.
12 of
We're
them?
we're all social distancing. aren't
That's
we?
All right, well,
That's right.
let's talk about Rudy Gobert, what he did at that press conference on Monday night. A reporter had asked him, about, are you worried about getting the coronavirus? And then he gets up
Yeah.
and, jokingly, of course he didn't mean it and he's written an apology, but that's not sitting well with a lot of Americans.
No, the optics were really bad. The timing was really bad. Little did he know. I'm not sure whether he was feeling any illness or not, because the next day he was tested for more traditional symptoms, regular flu, strep throat, things like that. And then they threw in the coronavirus test, and that's when he tested positive for that. So people are saying he did not exhibit any symptoms. He didn't feel sick when he made, a pretty lame joke of touching people's stuff. That whole media can't enter the locker rooms and must stay 6 to 8 feet away. Kind of an odd way to approach things. I mean, it really felt, being on one side of that, as if they wanted to keep their assets away from, the filthy media people. I guess I understand that
Then he
view.
touches their stuff. Don't touch my stuff.
But when I think of all the things I've seen, heard, and smelled in locker rooms, I think we're the ones they should have been thinking about.
You needed to be protected. So let's. What about this? Going back to the earlier in the season controversy regarding the relationship between the NBA and China. So now dovetailing that with the apparent genesis of this virus, has the NBA recovered from? Or what? Perhaps a better question: what do you see as the lasting effects of the disclosure and controversy surrounding their relationship with China, such that players were unwilling to condemn human rights abuses in China that are ongoing during this virus?
Yeah, well, Adam Silver did talk about it at the All-Star game here in Chicago. He did talk about the economic impact, and they had conservative estimates then that it would be $400 million at least in terms of their business relationships and all the the ratings or the memorabilia sales and things like that, jersey sales over their popularity in China. So they took the hit. I hadn't heard anything updated since the middle of February as a result of that, but that was that was serious, and the NBA did not look good in the way they sort of scrambled and went sideways on that whole thing. And Daryl Morey, the Houston general manager, who sparked it with his tweet in support of Hong Kong protesters, he's basically been out of sight, out of mind this season. Now, this season has been unprecedented in terms of challenges to the league and hits. I mean, when you factor in former Commissioner David Stern, who pretty much built this NBA to what it's been in recent time, and then of course the shocking death of Kobe Bryant, and now this. This is a season unlike any that I've seen, and I've covered this thing for good 30 years.
Do you think it'll come? I mean, they said it was canceled, and now NHL said NHL said it was canceling. Now it's saying it might come back. Do you think the NBA will come back and play before the end of the season?
I do think they will come back. Yeah, I do think they'll come back in some form. I mean, people say, well, they'll come back and they'll have to play some regular season games, if only to provide tune-up for their postseason, which they will wedge in, even if it goes into July or August. You don't want to come back and have your first game be the first game of a best-of-7 series, just from a competitive standpoint.
They could do it.
Hard to say. Others think they'll come back and actually play in empty arenas. Intentionally, not just as a circumstance of the quality of teams that are in some of those buildings, but it's really uncharted, and it does change hour by hour. I mean, the other night when they went from the decision to play on Tuesday, they decided on Thursday that the Golden State Warriors would have an empty arena in San Francisco for their game against Brooklyn. Then you heard that we may have to extend that to more locations, and then all of a sudden they're shutting down, and 2 weeks was the first projection, and then yesterday it came out that it's going to be at least a month.
And then there was a domino effect with the other professional sports leagues and the NCAA and so forth. But the question is there coordination or communication between these professional sports leagues on something like this, or do you just sort of look to see who the first mover is and then people follow suit?
I tend to think it's both. When they did the media policy, that was instituted by, 4 leagues in concert. They issued a joint press release that the locker rooms and clubhouses would be closed to the media for foreseeable future. But the NBA was the first to postpone games and shut down its season. And then yesterday, other sports followed. And the NBA likes to be first in things. They consider themselves the most progressive sports league in the country.
Progressive.
And so they like to lead the way on some of these things. And they get a lot of credit for being smart in many cases. And we'll see. We'll see where this goes. I mean, there's no way to say it's a bad move if fewer people get infected, I suppose.
Right. He is Steve Aschburner, senior writer, NBA.com. Steve, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, you're welcome.
Thank you. And he joined us on our Turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Jim Oberweis is the conservative leader we know and trust, and he gets results. Jim Oberweis has raised millions of dollars to help conservatives across Illinois fight Mike Madigan and the Chicago Democrats. As a state senator, Jim Oberweis has never voted for a tax increase and never will. Jim Oberweis is the only candidate to stand up and fight against Dick Durbin and the D.C. swamp, beating Dick Durbin in each county in the 14th district. Jim Oberweis fought to stop J.B. Pritzker's liberal agenda and strongly opposes Pritzker's graduated income tax. Jim Oberweis is the conservative leader we need to beat Nancy Pelosi and Lauren Underwood. Jim Oberweis stands with President Trump and will vote to fund and build the wall. If you want to support President Trump, stop the liberals, and keep America great, you need to vote for conservative leader Jim Oberweis in the Republican primary on March 17th.
I'm Jim Oberweis, and I approve this message.
In these trying times, let's at least boost our immune system if we can't boost our moods. By doing that, doctors say to sleep well and eat healthy, and that means getting enough fruits and veggies, which means you have to be honest with yourself. Check yourself. Are you getting enough in your daily diet?